Hey, welcome to World Entertainment, and it's here, Starfleet Academy, Episode 3. Oh yay. My good God, is this show a slog to get through. This episode is hijinks and pranks and stuff like that, where it's the Academy versus the War Academy. Yes, there's a War Academy for some reason. And one of the weirdest parts about the War Academy is there's a Vulcan on it, and he's one of the main people who is like running the pranks. It's like, you're a Vulcan. Like, none of this would make any logical sense to you. It's like just insane. It's hilarious as well, because the whole beginning of the episode is like a PE class, and the irony is all the fat women, which is also weird that all the fat people are women in this show, aren't there. You know, the fat bint who had her comm badge, she's not in this episode, thank God. But the only fat one that is meant to be doing the like courses and stuff is the hologram. And ironically, we don't actually see her really doing any of the stuff. They show her like standing there, maybe doing, you know, star jumps or something, but that's it. You know, you don't see her doing any of the actual physical stuff that the rest of them are doing. But while they're all training on one side with, yes, their gym teacher, the fat Klingon / Jem'Hadar that shouldn't exist, she's there doing her usual, just screaming at people, constantly referring to death, and constantly referring to death as a woman. So, yeah. While they're all doing that, the War College is on the other side doing their training, and then they end up throwing a ball at Caleb, and that's what begins the whole kind of conflict. And then, while they're all getting changed, not with the War College or anything, they're all getting changed, they start getting transported out of the change room while they're all half naked, and some of them fully naked. We don't see any bits and pieces. Shock horror, as of yet anyway. But they're all getting transported. Like, Genesis gets transported into the pond or whatever it is. Why there's a pool thing in the middle of the ship, God only knows, but she gets transported into that. Caleb gets transported into the middle of a lecture or something where his towel falls off. One of them gets transported onto a table while people are eating breakfast, all that type of crap. And then the video comes up of saying, hey, and it's the Vulcan saying it, like, we did this because we can, and all this type of crap. The episode also opens with, I don't even know his name, the asshole jock dude, who says he's the first to go to bed, the first to go to bed and the first to wake up. And he wakes up, they got earbuds, by the way, for some reason. They glow green, but they've got earbuds. And he's starting to work out in the room while Caleb and the brother of the Betazoid is asleep, and he comes walking out of his quarters and bangs into Genesis, who's already up, and he's like, you know, disgruntled because he's not actually the first to get out of bed. She is. So those two have like this competing thing together for wanting to be captain. Not captain as in captain of a starship or anything, captain of their team. So it's just like, what? So after, of course, they get transported, they go to the Chancellor, and that, by the way, Alex Kurtzman just went, let's spend as much money as we possibly can in this episode for no reason. They're in like the what do you call them? Bloody, where all the flowers and stuff are. I'm blanking on what you call those things. But it's like this big spinny room. You can tell it's volume, but it's just unnecessary that it's meant to be this massive area with all the greenery and stuff that spins. And she's basically giving them hints, although they're too stupid to realise, of how to get back at the college. But she shows them this flower that, talks. The flower talks. It repeats everything you say. And it's just like, what? It's ridiculous. That whole scene is just ridiculous, where she convinces them, like, hey, you know, you're not going to do anything. You're going to plant these and make them grow and stuff like this. And then when Genesis is talking to Caleb, saying, like, you know, we need to get back at the War College, she goes, you need to be my second in command because you're the rebel. And he's like, what about everyone else? And it shows you that everybody else is stupid. By the way, why the Betazoid brother is like, he's just a head melt. He's proper stupid. He's like, yo dude, and stuff like that. He's meant to be like the typical high school idiot. He's there, he's kind of constantly getting itchy for some reason. The hologram, Sam I think her name is. Yeah. What do you think she's doing while planting the flower things? Yeah. She's picking up the soil and licking it. So it's like, these idiots really are just eating everything. Ironically, they get the fat one to look like she's tasting everything. But yeah, she's licking like these weird... I don't know whether they were meant to be just stone or jelly kind of stones, but she has a handful of that and she's trying to lick it. It's like, what is going on? The Chancellor, by the way, is walking around this entire episode with no... I swear to God, you'd think Quentin Tarantino directed this episode, because the amount of foot shots with her is unreal. By the way, in her office, I've noticed, by the way, her office is the thing that looks like, I don't know, some sort of room in a Japanese home or something, which is actually on the ship, which also, much like in Strange New Worlds, for reasons best known to themselves, has a giant fireplace. Why is there a fireplace on a starship? But other than that, I kept getting distracted every time we were in her quarters, office, whatever it is, because there's a shelf, and on the shelf it's very prominent that you notice the models of proper starships. There's 2 Galaxy classes on there, so obviously the Enterprise D, there's an Enterprise B one you can see, there's a Voyager one, there's a NX-01 Enterprise one there, there's I'm going to assume maybe it's meant to be the Grissom on there. There's a couple of other ones that you can't really make out what they are because they're quite small. I kept getting distracted by that shelf. So half the conversations that happened in her office, I didn't actually catch. Because she doesn't just have starships on it. You start noticing other things like, okay, there's an old TOS tricorder. Under that, I can see the TOS Universal Translator. There's a helmet which looks like it's possibly from Discovery. There's all sorts of... I was getting distracted staring at all that stuff going, oh, look at all the member berries. Rather than actually listening to what she was saying, which isn't hard to do because you can't understand a bloody word she says. So they end up having to do this battle training anyway, which is where they get those suits with the weird lights on it. And it's them running this obstacle course type thing with explosions all around. It's meant to be funny as well, because it's like... And they literally say, like, the hologram goes like, oh, it's like laser tag. And the Jem'Hadar one, who's their teacher for all this, is like, yes, exactly, it's like laser tag. And then you see the explosions and her holding a rock screaming, it's nothing like laser tag. And it's like, you're 1,000 years after the original series, which was about 700 years from where we are now. Well, at the time. How would you ever know what laser tag was? It makes no sense. Yeah, there's still tons of swearing in it. The alien girl, who I'm not sure what species she's meant to be. She looks like she's a cross between a Vulcan and, I don't know, a Romulan. She's like, which makes no real sense, but she's kind of got the pointy ears, but she's got weird facial features and stuff. She flips them off. It's like, you're an alien species. How would you know about flipping off? How would you also know about swearing? Caleb tries to hook up. And, oh, by the way, this is weird, actually, this moment. Him and the Klingon are walking down the stairs, and he sees I don't even know what any of these people's names are, but the Betazoid girl, the one he fancies. He sees her in, like, the gym area playing basketball. Yeah, apparently basketball's still a thing in the 32nd century. And he sees the other 3 War College idiots coming, and he says to the Klingon dude, Jaden, who, yes, they actually end up just saying Jaden, that's his name, goes, distract them. And this is weird. So he goes to try and distract them to give Caleb time to go down to talk to her. Now, they're on the staircase right next to the big window that looks into the gymnasium. Once he's in there, and by the way, Jaden tries to hold them up by telling them 2 Klingon jokes. I was like, what? And while Caleb ends up in there talking with whatever her name is, to ask her basically, like, why did you join the war college? You know, you made a mistake, you should have joined us. You notice the staircase, none of them were on the staircase. Like, they all walked off, but it's like, oh, so none of them were actually coming into the gymnasium, and none of them seemed to notice the two of you in there. It's like, where did they go? Why did you have to distract them? It was like, okay, so you literally just made a scene to have the Klingon try and tell a joke that literally wasn't needed. It was so stupid and retarded. By the way, lots of Tig Notaro in this episode, and oh my god, they did it, and it's true. Tig Notaro's character and the Jem'Hadar Klingon are a gay couple. Yep, Tig Notaro even calls her Kit. I couldn't believe it. They actually went there. And it was like, oh my god. Apparently Tig Notaro came to the Academy because she pretty much left Discovery for her. I was like, oh my god, you've actually done it. So they're trying to get back all the time to the war college. They end up playing a game. They have to find out who's going to be the captain first, and the asshole dude wants to be the captain, but so does Genesis. He wins. You know, they're tied, and the rule is you have to go side by side firing, and whoever makes the score of 8 first wins. And he distracts her by bringing up her family, and he wins. But so apparently she has issues with her father and stuff, and he's the captain, but he's a useless captain. They're getting beaten in their test. Well, not their test, their, like, I don't know what you want to call it, their competition. And you know, he keeps barking. He keeps getting shot first, by the way. And what they're to do, by the way, how they score is you're to shoot the mascot. What's the mascot? Well, it's someone in a suit. The Starfleet Academy guy, who is the Betazoid, they have him in the suit of, do you remember the creature in the episode of TNG? Actually, was it in TNG? Well, it was in TNG. I'm just trying to remember, was it? No, it wasn't the episode where Data was taken. You know, where they faked his death and they had him as like part of a collection. The Collector. I don't think it was that one. I think it was the episode with Alexander. Do you remember when there was the fire or something in the room and there was that alien creature that Alexander goes back in and saves? The weird little big-eyed thing with the little beak. They're dressed as one of them things. So it's either that creature that Alexander saved in TNG, or it was the extinct creature, or what they thought was extinct, that the Collector dude had in the episode of TNG when he faked Data's death to have him. He's dressed as one of them things. The other guy is dressed as the TOS alien. Do you remember the alien, the furry, like abominable snowman type thing with the horn on its head? If I have an image, I'll put it in here. He's dressed as one of them. I was like, oh god, you really are just trying to go, look, remember? I was like, oh god. So you're to try and shoot like targets over the mascot, and the Academy are getting their asses handed to them, and then asshole dude gets knocked out again. He's trying to bark orders. Genesis comes up with a plan to shoot the replicator so it creates smoke, just like in their training. They can't see, and then they use the war college's own phaser fire to see where they are and take them out, and they score 1, and then they get caught and they're punished. They're brought to the Chancellor, who basically is giving out to them, but she's actually telling them what to do. And what they're to do is, you can only get access into the war college via eye scan, a retinal scan of the head of the war college, which then they realize, because the Chancellor goes and talks with him, says, hey, your students could only pull off these pranks like the transporter stuff once they have a higher officer's clearance, which means you gave them the clearance. So this is why she's trying to tell them how to get back. And she's pretty much telling them to get back using those plant things. Because apparently, if you stress the plants out, they grow incredibly fast and get, like, aggressive, maybe. So they break into the War College. By the way, this is stupid. They have 60 seconds to put the stuff in that makes these plants grow really fast into all the dorms of the War College students. The only person that could do it fast enough, because they're a hologram that they can just appear really quickly, obviously, is the hologram Sam. The stuff she's using, which is physical stuff, like you have to hold it, you know, comes from the I'm still forgetting the name of the area with flowers and stuff. She is able to turn on and off holding them, and they turn on and off with her. It's like, well, that would mean they're holographic and they couldn't work to actually grow real life plants. So how did you work that one out? You didn't. You cabbages. You literally screwed yourself over. You put that in. You wrote that in that, oh, she'll beam in and beam out, like turn on and off, but she's gonna have these in her hand and that's how they're gonna grow. And it's like, but that wouldn't work. If they're in her hands and she's able to turn on and off, that they would either fall to the ground, or if they're holograms, then they absolutely wouldn't work. But don't worry about it. They're too stupid to even think about it, so they didn't. But that's surely what happens, and these things grow, and obviously it's meant to be funny, and it's just stupid, and you're just like, good God. It's an absolutely nothing episode. Why the Betazoid brother can't sense anybody's feelings? Like, why can't he sense, like, and tell his classmates, like, oh, they're actually afraid of this, and they think if we do this, we can do that? No, but his sister can do that. His sister discovers that Caleb is disguised. He breaks into the War College by disguising himself as their mascot. And she goes, hey, Caleb, what are you doing here? And, like, she goes, I can sense you. And every now and again, when she gets close to him and starts talking with him and kind of gets flustered a little bit, the thing on her neck goes red. It's blue. There's a blue light on it, and it turns red. And then all of a sudden she can, like, sense him and stuff. It's so bizarre. And it's like, what is going on? And there's just more and more shots of Holly Hunter sitting there with her feet up on the desk, and like proper full-on shots of her feet. Like, that's what I'm saying. You would swear Quentin Tarantino directed this episode. And by the end, they win. The War College yields to them. All this stuff says they were the better man and all this crap. They all get these weird jackets, and the asshole dude is looking at the one with Captain on the arm, and Genesis is like, I believe that's mine. And that's pretty much where it ends. And it's just like, what in the hell did I just watch? It's like, the music, by the way, in this one is good God, like proper today hip-hoppy type of techno music. And it's just like, what is going on? No mention of his mother this week. He does not bring her up at all. Everyone else seems to have daddy issues, though. You know, Genesis and the asshole dude, their family seems to be terrible. Every conversation with Holly Hunter in her office, I couldn't understand the words she was saying, and I kept getting distracted by the shelf. It's an absolute nothing burger. It went nowhere, it proved nothing, and it did not move anything forward. This thing is horrendously bad. Anybody telling you different is on drugs, or they've just never watched Star Trek before. You know, it's ridiculous. It truly is ridiculous. But I know you guys aren't watching it. You're letting us all watch it for you because, you know, you've got common sense. Oh, by the way, no Doctor in this episode either, so he wasn't in this episode. The fat idiot who ate our comm badge wasn't in this episode. No mention or anything about our villain this episode. No mention of Caleb's mother this episode. It was literally just so fun and jokey jokes type of episode. So absolutely god awful. Probably worse than the first two. But this thing, I cannot figure out for the life of me who this is meant to be for. Like, if this is even meant to be for teenagers, I'd be insulted if I was a teenager. Because they literally are telling you, we think you're that stupid, we're spelling everything out for you. But yeah, another horrendous episode. So that's episode 3 done. can't wait till next week for episode 4. But with that, I shall leave it there for this one. So do like, share, subscribe and all that good stuff. Cheers, and I will catch you in the next one.